Hey, how's it going? Vladimir Donis here. So hey, today I'm coming to you with day number 13 inside of a 30-day video challenge. And today, the thing that I want to talk about is I want to talk about what should your follow-up process be after you generate a lead. Day number 12, I talked about the next thing you need to do after you generate a lead. So the minute you generate a lead, I told you immediately the thing that you should do. And today I want to talk to you about what should you do from a follow-up process. The person just came to your site, they provided you with their email address in exchange for some useful content, useful information, resources, guides, etc. Now, what should the follow-up process be? Now, when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about, all of us, right, that's watching this, we consume, content. So one of the formats that we use in order to consume content is we buy, books, right? Sometimes we buy some of these books. Some of the books are fiction and some of the books are nonfiction. So depending on, the problem that we're trying to solve, it could just be that, I just want to get my mind off of work. So I just want to go ahead and consume this content because I want to get my mind off of work. So that's one of the ways that we consume content. Another way that we consume content, we may buy a book, and that book may be designed to help us to solve a specific problem. And when we do that, right, we consume the content. So when I was thinking about that, that's content that you consume. It's non-guided content, meaning that you go and you buy the book and you consume the book. And some of us, right, I'm guilty of this. I may buy a book and I may not necessarily read the book for months because I just went to Amazon, I bought a book, and sometimes we forget about it. I mean, I know I've purchased books and I've completely forgotten about the fact that, I have this book, and then I may come back to it later down the line, so on and so forth. Well, in the context of this lead generation follow-up process, let's just assume that the thing that you just gave away to someone is some type of a resource and or some type of a guide, right? You just gave this guide away, you just gave this resource away. What you need to do from a follow-up standpoint, the first thing you need to do in your first email is you need to congratulate them and you need to set expectations. So here's what I mean. You need to tell them that, hey, congratulations on gaining access to this free resource and or this free guide. Over the next couple of days, I'm going to send you some emails that's going to help you with implementing, from an implementation standpoint, to help you to implement the thing that I just gave to you. And why are you sending them emails? You're going to send them emails to stay top of mind, because keep in mind, using the book analogy that I just gave, some people may download your free guide or your free resource and forgot that they did. So because of that, you need to stay top of mind. And the way that you're going to stay top of mind is going to help them from an implementation standpoint. So then what you need to do is you need to send them a series of emails, and these emails are going to help them from an implementation standpoint. So what's going to be in the email? Essentially, the thing that's going to be in the email is the same information that you've already provided to them in the guide. You're just giving it to them in bite size to help them from an implementation standpoint. So let me go ahead and give you an example. One of my pieces of signature content that I have out there is a four-step strategy to help, four-step process to help people to say, prospects to say yes using a micro commitment strategy. So let's just say I had that as a free resource and a free guide, and someone just went to my landing page. They provided me with their email address, and now they can go ahead and get access to this resource, and they can consume this resource. And after they consume this resource, it's going to show them how to get more yeses from their prospect. Well, I'm not going to assume that they're going to go download the resource and the guide right away, because, from a human nature standpoint, right, they may forget about it, they may not have time, so on and so forth. So it's a four-step process. So then what I'm going to do is in my first email, I'm going to say, hey, congratulations, you've downloaded this free resource, this free guide. Here's where you can go to gain access to it. So that's what I'm going to do in email number one. Email number two, I'm going to say, email number one, I'm going to set the expectation. I'm going to say, hey, tomorrow I'm going to be helping you from an implementation standpoint to implement some of the things that's in this resource, that's in this guide. So be on the lookout, tomorrow for an email that's going to help you start the implementation process. Well, tomorrow, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to send them an email, and that email is going to introduce them to step number one, why is step number one important, and how they can go ahead and use step number one to attract people to them to get the yes. So as you can see, I am simply repeating the exact same thing that's in the resource and or the guide. It's just from a format standpoint, from a distribution standpoint, I'm using a different form. I'm using a different methodology to distribute the thing. Let's just say the resource and or the guide was in a PDF guide. Well, a PDF is just a one standalone document. If I'm sending them an email, the email is much, they can consume it, anywhere. And plus it's more bite-sized type of a content. Is this making sense? Right? So that's email number one. Email number one has been sent to them 2 days after they provided me with their email address. So now we're talking about day number 3. So day number 2, after I give them the free resource, after I tell them about how to implement step number 1, I'm going to say, hey, you know what, tomorrow be on the lookout for for your email, and tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm going to show you how you can go ahead and implement step number 2. And then, I've set the tone, and then tomorrow I'm going to walk them through, hey, this is step number 2 of the guide that you just downloaded, and here's how you can go ahead and implement step number 2. Do this, do this, do that. So, now I could even stretch it out even more if I wanted to. So instead of sending them 5 emails over the next 5 days, I can send them 10 emails, because I can stretch the content and I can make it be just that much longer. I can make step number 1. I can split that up into 2 days. If I wanted to, I can split up each of the steps into 2 days, and I've done that in the past. And when I do that, I just stretch the content just that much longer. So now, from a follow-up standpoint, they're going to spend the next 10 days seeing my email, the next 10 days seeing me, and the next 10 days me inviting them to go ahead and consume the content. And then what happens after someone consumes the content? This is why follow-up is so important. After someone consumes the content, they become a little bit more indoctrinated into you. They understand your process. They understand your methodology. They understand why you exist. They actually consume the content. And when they consume the content, the next step of your marketing funnel, of your marketing process, is just that it is just that much more easier for them to go ahead and take that next step with you, right? So hence why, follow-up is important, and hence why you want to go ahead and break it up the way that I just mentioned. All right. If you happen to be catching me live, do me a favor and hit pound live. I want to know where you're tuning in from. I am tuning in from Boynton Beach, Florida. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And if you happen to be catching the replay, just hit pound replay and let me know where you are tuning in from.